Welcome back to Everything EOS, the longest running EOS podcast. We are so excited to have you all back today and share a lot of exciting developments in the EOS community. But first up, we have super exciting news. Those Everything EOS developer courses should now finally be live. We submitted everything to Udemy, the course platform that we're using for this. So if you're watching this video, you may have already gotten an email to go ahead and access your developer course for free. But if you haven't, head over to everythingeos.io/dev. That link still works, right? That's where everybody can get the courses, right, Zach?
That link should work. We're recording this one day earlier than we usually do. Rob's going camping this week. So right now there should be no issues, but anything that we run into will be communicated to you. You should, regardless, have received an email by the time this airs, and everything should be fine, and everything's on Udemy. So like Rob said, check that out, everythingeos.io/dev. If you haven't signed up, if you did sign up earlier, check your email. You should have one waiting for you.
And once you guys get access to those courses, please let us know what you think in the Everything EOS Telegram at t.me/everything_EOS. Let us know if you have questions. Let us know what you think of the overall course. I know it's a ton of material, more than 8 hours across 60 lessons, some written, some text content, mostly video content, all through that course platform. So it's a really high quality course and just the first of many courses that we'll have coming under that Everything EOS Dev program. So stay tuned. It's pretty exciting times.
And don't forget to leave us a review on Udemy. So you have a brand new account, no reviews, no 5 stars. It should have 105 stars by the time this airs, hopefully. So let's move on to the other big news, Rob. We got the B1 June event. We talked about it last week. They started sending invites out. Last week, we reported that it'll be invite only, which everyone was kind of bummed out about. They will also have a delayed live stream. But so a lot of people got the initial batch of invites last week before we recorded the last episode. But over the last couple of days, I've been getting messages from random people saying that they're getting their invites. They're trickling out. So they're
nice.
So if you did not get an invite yet, there is still a chance that they're still sending out emails. I don't know. Maybe they're batch sending them and then giving them a few days to RSVP, and then maybe they have a certain capacity they're looking for. But we have an event planned. We talked about this previously on the show. We have the, what do we call it, Rob? The EE31 May? Or is that what we're calling it?
EE31 May. I love it. So we are hosting an awesome event in Washington, D.C. So whether you're going to the Block.One event or not, but especially the people that are going to the Block.One event, the night before at 6 p.m. in Washington, D.C., we're having a little mixer event where you can come, eat some hors d'oeuvres. There will be drinks that you can buy from the actual place. What's the name of the place in D.C.?
The Beer Garden Haas. So it's like an outdoor beer garden. So they have an indoor area if the weather is really bad, but if the weather is really nice, it's going to be amazing. They have a really nice outdoor area, plenty of space. I heard the food's really good there. It's 1.8 miles from the DC Armory, which is where the B1 June event will be the following day. The whole Everything EOS team and a bunch of others will be there at 6 p.m. No end date. So you can come as early as you want or come as late as you want. We'll probably still be there. But we do ask that everyone who is planning to attend RSVP, we have to give a head count to this venue so that they can make sure they have enough staff to accommodate us. We're expecting anywhere between 50 all the way up to 200 people. We don't know how many people B1 Block.One's even invited. So we're like in the dark here and just trying to plan accordingly. We're working with a couple local Washington, D.C. blockchain agnostic blockchain meetup groups. So we're going to get the local crowd there too who might not know a lot about EOSIO. So we'll be able to educate them on it as well. But we're expecting a big crowd. But to plan for that big crowd, just please RSVP if you're planning to attend. There's no fee, no tickets. No ticket cost. And you could RSVP at everythingeos.io/B1 June.
Awesome. Do that. And if you're coming to that event and you already have some of the Everything EOS merch, I would be wearing mine today, but I've been wearing it so much. I worked at the gym. It's in the wash right now. But if you have Everything EOS merch, bring it to the event. Take a photo with us while you're there. It should be pretty cool. And we're going to see how many people in the room we can get at the same time wearing some kind of EOS merch. So if you don't have yours already, everythingeos.io. Check out the merch. And like Zach said, please RSVP. The event is totally free, but we need you to RSVP everythingeos.io/B1 June. And speaking of merch, it seems, was it Sebastian from WordProof that posted a photo of himself in the merch in the Everything EOS Telegram?
Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of pictures like that, sometimes just in a direct message, but I especially like it whenever it's in the Everything EOS Telegram channel. And let's plug that, t.me/everything_EOS. But he's actually got some really big news that actually happened. The beta for WordProof has launched. And if you're not familiar with what WordProof is, it is a WordPress plugin that timestamps all of your posts, pages, and updates to pages and posts on the EOS blockchain.
But it's really cool and really does solve a real need. In the journalism space right now, especially in the content space, you go out and you post a piece of content and then 100 other people immediately copy you, they repost it as their own, they say, hey, I wrote this article when you are the one that actually wrote it. So what WordProof is trying to do is something that's very cool, which is have immutable cryptographic proof that you publish something first, that you're the owner of that content in case there's a legal battle, if you need to tell somebody to remove content from their site. So it's something super helpful. And it seems like, am I correct that Everything EOS actually has a page that will be archived as one of the world first pages archived on the WordProof system?
Us, along with the EOSReader.io and TalosUK.io, we're all the first 3 WordPress sites to ever be timestamped on an EOSIO blockchain.
Hey, that's so cool.
Super cool. There's so much cool stuff about this project and about Sebastian, the CEO. So just a couple of things about that. So one, they're one of the first EOSIO projects to receive funding through a worker proposal system. They actually got their initial seed funding through the Talos WPS, which is super cool. And then the other thing is that this isn't just some random development team building a WordPress plugin. It is a team of seasoned WordPress veterans that built this thing. Their most notable project that they've done in the past was a GDPR compliance plugin, and that thing has had over 1 million downloads before. Oof. And still has over 100,000 websites using it right now.
Wow,
and that's
crazy.
Not all.
Yeah, so this is huge. So there's an event in Europe. This is on June 22nd called WordCamp Europe. And this is actually, and Zach looked this up before the show, this is crazy. This is the biggest WordPress event in the world. So this is like the main WordPress gathering, kind of like B1 June. Seems like it's turning out to be our annual EOS gathering for everybody. This is like the B1 June of the WordPress world. So Sebastian will actually be on stage. Is it with the co-founder of WordPress?
Yes, Matt Mullenweg.
Wow.
He is the WordPress founder. He'll be on stage with him and Sebastian. I'm probably gonna mess his name up. Vanderlans. He's Dutch. I'm not sure. I don't know how to speak Dutch. I'm sorry. But I talk to him all the time. He's a really great guy. Really enthusiastic about all of this. And the production version of WordProof, and you can find it at wordproof.io. They're taking beta signups right now if you have a WordPress site and you want to try it out. But the production release is planned mid-June. So it sounds like they're trying to time up the production release at the same time as this conference. So WordPress is huge. 33% of all websites on the internet are on WordPress.
Ooh, say that again. How many websites on the internet are on WordPress?
Tens of millions, and that's 33% of all websites on WordPress. And they already have users. So like I said, they have 100,000 plus active users of their GDPR plugin. So I'm sure there's some cross-marketing opportunities there. And also, speaking of cross-marketing opportunities, so because he's embedded in the WordPress ecosystem, and a lot of these WordPress developers might not know what EOSIO is or might not know how to build on a blockchain, it just so conveniently happens that we have the Everything EOS developer course series that is going to be plugged right there in the plugin on the homepage of the plugin. Whenever you go to install it, it's going to basically say, do you know how to, want to learn more about developing on EOSIO? Go here. And Peter Keay, our technical lead here and our technical educator at LiquidApps, he will be there to show everyone the way. So this is a huge opportunity. I mean, we could onboard
absolutely
tens of thousands of developers, if not more. And that's like the sky is the limit, basically. And this is the plugin itself. So I've already installed it on our website. It's super simple. If you've ever used WordPress before, you've probably installed tens of plugins to do different things for SEO or whatever, any number of things on a WordPress site, and it's super easy. So if you've done that before, you could easily do this as well. And because they're on Talos for the beta, it's all free accounts. And then there's a few other ways they could probably get free accounts by the production release, but I don't know a whole lot about that. So,
yeah, I have. There's so much going on. I mean, he really is a cool guy, and we've spoken a lot as well about once the EOS mainnet is one of those supported options in the main release, about integrating EOS name service, giving people those 99-cent account names or a custom name that they want to archive all of this data on the blockchain. And this honestly is something that I could see major publishers, I mean, your Gawkers, your CNNs, your Fox, all these huge people really have a need for something like this to say, hey, we own this content, take yours down because yours is copying ours. So I could see this being sort of a standard on the web in the future where if you're publishing any content online, first you stamp it with WordProof, make sure you own it, and then you go ahead and release it to the world. So super excited about this. Huge shout out to the entire team over at WordProof.
I see it as like a Trojan horse. You got these WordPress developers. Oh, what's EOSIO? That might be the first time they ever come across it. They click that one link and they go down the rabbit hole. And then next thing you know, they're going to be on everything EOS talking about it with us.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
So yeah, you kind of mentioned EOS name service a minute ago. You have a little bit of news coming out soon on that, don't you?
Yeah, so this is super exciting. So this is in collaboration with the folks over at EOS Cafe Block and Saeed specifically. But we have some very, very exciting news to share, and we'll actually have something for you to use this month in May as you're watching this. At some point during this month, we have an incredibly excited announcement related to that EOS DNS. So that's the decentralized DNS, allowing you to host a website, fully decentralized, a centralized domain. That will be out at some point in May, and we'll have more details to share soon. So stay tuned on that, but super, super excited. And a huge shout out to the EOS Cafe Block team for partnering with us on this and integrating with EOS name service. So we cannot wait to roll that out. Coming in May, more details soon.
So much exciting stuff. So Monday night, we had a big update come out. So last week on the show, we made a new B1 June prediction, and it was a pretty simple one. And that was the expectation that EOSIO 2.0 would be rolled out for June 1st. Well, 1.8 release candidate 1 just rolled out. That means there's potentially going to be a 1.9 sometime in May. And then June 1st, we're going to see 2.0. But
I hope.
In 1.8, we have some very, very major upgrades. There's actually an upgrade to the consensus protocol, and this was mentioned by Dan a while ago. So Dan has been talking about this upgrade here since November 29th. He came in to Telegram and he mentioned that they're working on a small hard forking change that will enable most users to never have to rent CPU and allow dapp creators to rent/own CPU for their users.
Ooh, it's so good. And this, in combination with Rex, this combination of dapps being able to lease CPU super cheaply from Rex and other services like Chintai, and then also, now they can automatically pay for that CPU on their users' behalfs, means that the users, like you're saying, should really never have to even worry about resources, let alone, go stake EOS and worry about unstaking in this whole process. It'll be super simple. You have your EOS account, come on in, play our dapp, we'll pay for the CPU on your behalf, lease it super cheaply from Rex. And this, I think, is just another step in this long climb of us getting to mass adoption, making it super easy for people to onboard, whether it's making an account or in this case, managing resources, which now it seems like they don't have to do if the dapp supports this. So I'm super excited about everything coming in 1.8. If any of you out there looked at the release notes, you're probably like, what even is this? It's a bunch of technical jargon. Basically, there are a lot of core improvements to the overall blockchain, the actual consensus mechanism, the way CPU is built on the blockchain itself. That's going to require coordination amongst all the block producers to launch this and actually upgrade the chain. And normally that's not the case because you're not dealing with such core code foundational changes. It's just other upgrades and additional features. But in this case, the BPs will all be working together to deploy this at the same time and make sure that everything goes smoothly. So I cannot wait for 1.8 to be live. It's going to be awesome.
I'm excited. And as you mentioned, some core fundamental changes are going to be made, and to allow that to happen, it's like a series of upgrades. So all these updates aren't just run by the block producers at once. It's going to happen in stages. So the first stage is basically laying the foundation for all future upgrades similar to this one. So it's really important because then when 1.9 comes out and 2.0 comes out, if they need some bigger changes that especially with the consensus protocol, we don't know what's coming. It's all going to be ready to go, and it's going to be a lot easier for every future upgrade because of this one. And you mentioned Rex. You've probably already heard about this. This probably isn't news to you. I've been talking about the Rex for months now. It was first brought up back in like August. If you're already staking, already voting on the EOS mainnet, now you could stake and earn additional EOS for staking and voting for a minimum of, what is it, 15? I can't believe I'm blanking on this. It's 15 block producers, right?
I think it's either 15 or 21, but you can also just
21.
vote for a proxy. So there are a ton of different interfaces and ways to access Rex. You have things like Shintai, of course, Blocks.io, but the one that I'm super excited about and that we partnered with at Cypherglass is EOSREX.io. So at EOSREX.io, you can go log in, you can lend your CPU, and the best part about all this is really that Rex is risk-free. If I put in 100 EOS, the minimum I'm going to get out is 100 EOS, and then I'm going to collect my leasing fee on top. So there's no way I could put in 100 EOS and get less than that amount I put in. So it's totally risk-free, but use whatever interface you'd like. We have a video on the Cypherglass channel if Rex is out right now, going in depth on the EOSREX.io UI, so check it out.
So I don't know who all has front ends in the works. I've seen the Blocks.io, I've seen Shintai's, and as Rob mentioned, the EOSREX.io. Almost every block explorer should eventually have Rex staking built in the same way that most block explorers and wallets have just staking and unstaking and voting built in. This should be a function in almost every tool you use, but definitely on EOSREX.io and the other ones we mentioned. Oh, man, we're going hard on this one, Rob.
Yeah, we really are. There's so many updates. Dmail, we pushed out a big beta update this week, some new features. There are read and unread features, a lot of backend stability. If you're in the Dmail beta, check it out at dmail.co. See the new updates. Let us know what you think. But the people that we've let into the beta so far are super thrilled. So thank you all so much for your feedback. We have a huge list of upcoming features, so super excited to crush through those. But in addition to that, with other project updates, pixEOS actually just released a trailer saying that they will have 15 games coming out this year in 2019. So rather than me just talk about it, why don't you watch the super quick 1-minute trailer right now.
Does that not get you excited? So that's exciting. And I guess just for transparency, we always do this. We both own pixEOS tokens. This was not a sponsored anything. We just did it because we think this game's awesome. We want to play it. But I guess from a speculator standpoint, the other big news is, didn't they announce, we don't have this in our notes, but a new DEX listing coming soon in May or early May?
Yeah, it's coming just a few days after you're watching this, actually. By the time this episode is live, May 8th, pixEOS will be listed on NewDex. So super exciting, great timing, I think, with these announcements of what's coming in the future. The whole pixEOS Paint app, as you saw in that trailer, is getting an overhaul and an upgrade as well. So a lot of good things coming. The liquidity is coming, and there are some other partners in the future that should be listing it as well. So
when do you predict the pixEOS Game Center is going to be live? It didn't exactly say in the trailer. It didn't give us a date. What do you predict, Rob?
Oh, I see what you're doing there. We do know it's sometime in 2019 that those 15 games will come out, but the way you're saying predict, are you referring to the upcoming IQ prediction market?
Yeah, the one by Everipedia, the one that's going to make Augur obsolete and has the core team around Everipedia backing it up. And they released their white paper. They posted a blog article. But I think maybe we should give an introduction to what it is for people who aren't as in tune as we are.
Absolutely. So Everipedia is essentially a decentralized Wikipedia on the blockchain. And one of the members of the team, Larry Sanger, is actually a former co-founder of Wikipedia. This guy started Wikipedia along with, I guess, Jimmy Wales, I think is the name of the other co-founder. Larry, saw some problems with Wikipedia, mostly censorship, and then saw what Everipedia was doing on the side with allowing people to publish content, verifying content on the blockchain, incentivizing users for actually, adding that content to this overall encyclopedia. So Everipedia.org, if you haven't seen it, it's a much, much better version of Wikipedia. And now, using that same IQ token, they're building this prediction market.
Well, I just want to say how impressed I am with the Everipedia team and how they're growing the utility of the IQ token. Because
Absolutely.
Everyone kind of can understand what Everipedia is, even if you've never used it. It's like a better Wikipedia is the best way to explain it. And there's less censorship and less barriers to entry to getting a page on there. But that's it's like an encyclopedia. It's all of the world's knowledge in a global decentralized encyclopedia. So that tells you kind of what the history of everything is and what it is today at present. But then there's what's going to happen in the future is the aspect they're adding here with the prediction market. So they released a white paper. They have a release date for an MVP in June. And it's super cool because they have a flexible resolution system. So a prediction market is basically a way that anyone can create a market for. So if I wanted to create a market for the 2019 World Series, for example, I could basically set up a market, and it says based on the white paper here, it would cost me 25,000 IQ tokens that would be burned for me to create this marketplace. So I'd create a marketplace basically asking everyone, who do you predict is going to win the World Series? And then there could be, I'm not sure if it has to be binary or not, so I might be wrong here. But let's just say every team in the major leagues and the MLB is on this list. So there's the market creator, that's part of the system, and then there's the market resolver. So this is the part that's interesting to me is, so if we put out this prediction market for who's going to win the World Series, or let's just say it's between two teams in case it is binary. You have the market predictors, which is basically the people who want to wager on either team. So let's say team A or team B, and then after that event happens, the winners basically get paid out by the losers. So if let's say 90% of all of the predictions were for team A, and then only 10% were predicting for team B, you stand to gain a lot more from your prediction if you I guess gambled in a way on the team that only had 10% of the market. So you get 90% of the winnings for the 10% of the users. But to resolve the market is quite interesting because I guess I'm not going to quite get into how Augur worked. Augur's pretty much the most developed and defined prediction market to date, and it's on the Ethereum blockchain. Very low users, real low daily volume. We won't really get into that. But the way they're doing the market resolvers on Predict is super cool because it's flexible. So you have a variety of options on how you want to predict or how do you want to create the resolution for the outcome. So you could have a multi-sig. Maybe you could have like 10 trusted parties who are designated on a multi-sig to say basically, did team A win or did team B win? And then everyone who entered that market would know like how the results are going to be decided. So that's how you kind of have the trust, is they know ahead of time how it's going to be resolved. What's really cool is the dapp network, LiquidApps, my boys. We just released some documentation a week ago, maybe 2 weeks at this point, on our Oracle services. So basically any piece of information that you can get online on the regular non-blockchain internet from any API can be pulled in on-chain to be used in a smart contract. And then
wow.
There's also cron services, which are basically scheduled tasks for in the future. So this market could be created. Let's use the World Series as an example. I don't know like at what date the World Series would be resolved, but let's just say November 1st. Basically, you'd be able to set a future call to the API on November 1st, and you could have these decentralized DSPs. So DSP is just like an independent operator on the dapp network, and they could all be calling different API services, let's say from Yahoo, from ESPN, from Major League Baseball themselves. And then Predict themselves could also be running a DSP. and they compare all of the answers. And if all of the answers are all the same, then they've reached a consensus and they could basically say that this is the end result and then move on to the next step of the contract, which is basically pay the predictors based on who predicted the market correctly. It's just a really cool concept. It could go a lot further than just sports betting, though. So I think for the beta or the MVP that's coming out in June, it's going to be kind of basic in what kind of markets they want to do. But in the future, it could go even crazier. Like you could predict earthquakes, you could predict weather, like there will be a market for everything. And I think like where this is eventually going to go, and I don't know if it's on Predict or some other prediction market that we don't know about yet, is we're just going to have a bunch of AI competing against each other for who has the best AI and who could predict the future the best. And I think that's where we're headed here. And it's super cool. I kind of want to create a market myself whenever it first starts. So the market maker or market creator, I guess, like I said, they pay 25,000 IQ, which is about $100 right now. It just gets burned to create the market, but they can make that back based on like the volume of participants in the market. So if it was something big, like predicting like a presidential election or something, you're probably going to get a lot of volume on there. I think with Augur, wasn't that how they hit their peak, was during the election? Do you remember?
I believe so. I know that they did a lot of tests. They never really had a ton of users, like you said. I think only a couple dozen using the platform. But I think what's so exciting about this whole thing to me is the Oracle component, because that is really, a big question mark in a lot of other systems. Like, okay, you can bet on this thing, but how are you going to resolve it? And the Oracle seem pretty cool. And that reminds me, I saw Miles Snyder in the LiquidApps Telegram chat asking about oracles. Is he like involved over there in some way?
Yeah. So a lot of, I don't know how public this is, but Miles Snyder from Aurora, the BP, he also was from Multicoin Capital. So from what I understand is he's advising or on part of the team for the Predict market, and he's working with the Everipedia guys. And I just had a call with him this morning. He was asking some questions about using the dapp network services, using the oracles, and basically he queried the Telegram channel and asked for DSPs to reach out to them and let them know their pricing packages and how soon they're going to be running their oracles on the dapp network. So that's really cool to see, because the network's been live for about 2 months now, and we've had VRAM up until now. That was the main service being offered, but last week we rolled out an update with a bunch more services. And your excitement, I share in your excitement, Rob, because the oracles are probably the most exciting thing for me as well. Basically, any piece of information you can grab from an API can now be done in a trustless way and be integrated into a smart contract without relying on any one party to trust.
The implications for that, I mean, there's so many other uses for oracles besides just a prediction market. So the amount of things that are going to be built on top of that and the dapp network are just kind of insane to think about. And, it's funny. I know we've called Miles on the show. I think we've called him Mr. Stablecoin. But maybe now we can call him Mr. Oracle or Mr. DSP or something like that. But speaking of stablecoins, don't we have some news on that as well?
Dan, yeah, it's been a while since Dan's written a blog article sharing his ideas, because he's always thinking about stuff. And so he released an article and a bit of code, also a contract to go with it. Oh, wow. And he released it as himself. So I noticed he didn't release it through the EOSIO or the Block.One GitHub. He released it through his own personal GitHub. And he basically gave his ideas on how to create a high liquidity pegged token algorithm using Bancor, using You could look at it and read up on it. The link will be in the description to dive really deep on it. But the important thing to note is that it re-collateralizes itself with shorts. So it adds to a collateral position constantly based on trading fees. Whether you're long or short on the stablecoin to balance out and keep the peg, it's going to accumulate trading fees that get basically added to a collateral account. And it's like a shared collateral position shared by the entire network, I guess, is the easiest way to explain it. But I guess to tie this into oracles, you need price feeds to actually run a stablecoin. You need to be running price feeds in from all kinds of different exchanges to get an average and get a price. So that's another potential use of Oracle services. But I was excited by this. Dan has been working on a stablecoin since last February. Was the first time I saw on the EOSIO GitHub there was some code for a pegged derivative currency. And then over time, he updated it at some point to add some Bancor stuff to it. And then he re-released the code recently, and I haven't had time to dig into the actual code to see how it varied from his old model that he had. But I'm just super excited that it finally came out. He teased it again on April 1st, so we've just kind of been waiting for it. He said it was pending legal review, and now we have it. So I encourage anyone working on a stablecoin, and there are several. It seems like this is more of like a model of how to do it, and it's not going to be the only one. So we have like EOS USDs working on a stablecoin. We talked about the other week EOS DT from the team from, or at least the founder from Changelly. He's got his own stablecoin he's making. I know even for the Everipedia team, I've seen Sam in Telegram asking Dan about stablecoins or asking about stablecoins. There's some sort of stablecoin element needed for a prediction market. I'm not sure of all the details behind that, but super exciting. And it's not going to end there because we keep talking about Block.One and B1 June and what to expect. But you know, one thing we could expect at Block.One, not just for June, but for the foreseeable future?
Job openings.
A lot of new employees.
It's crazy. So obviously we know, Block.One has right now on their website listed 4 locations. They have Blacksburg, Virginia, which is where Dan is, where a bunch of engineers are. We have Hong Kong, which is where Brendan Bloomer currently is, a bunch of engineers, a bunch of people over there. There's Los Angeles, where they actually have a couple job openings, and then Northern Virginia, which seems like it's going to be their DC office. A lot of companies have a spot in Northern Virginia. If they need to go talk to political officials or whatever it may be, they can drive into DC. So they have a lot of new positions there as well. But the list here, we're seeing a lot of positions on the website that I'm looking at right now that we have never seen before, at least that I've never seen on the Block.One website. There's a position for a 3D animator in Hong Kong, community relations advocates, more legal counsel, a senior analyst, a senior UI designer, product marketing analyst, head of product marketing, head of communications for Asia. Goes on and on and on. A talent acquisition specialist to even
both
continue
in
to grow
Washington D.C. and in Blacksburg. So yeah, you're just running through these, Rob. I want to kind of hit on a couple of them. So there's too many to talk about all of them, but we're out of our notes. So this is the rest of the show, people. We want to tell you, apply to Block.One, Block.One/careers if any of these are of interest to you. So the 3D animator is the first thing you mentioned. That's insane because that's going to be part of the marketing team. So usually you contract a 3D animator because you only do a video like every once in a while. Like if we needed a 3D animator at everything EOS, we'd go on Upwork or Fiverr and go buy one for this one project. The fact that they're hiring a full-time 3D animator tells me that there's going to be a lot of marketing and digital content coming out. Community relations, like that's just people working in the working to grow the ecosystem, grow the community. I know a long time ago there was like a block producer relationship manager that apparently has been hired, and then just basically all these managerial positions, which basically tells me that there's a lot more people that'll be under these positions also. And like you said, the talent acquisition specialists, customer success team lead stood out to me also because you don't have a customer success team lead unless you have customers and have projects that you built for those customers and you're trying to just keep them happy. It's basically like a manager of like customer. It's making sure that everything turned out the way that it should and that you keep your clients happy. So that's huge.
Even along those same lines, if you look at jobs like the SEO lead, right now Block.One doesn't really need SEO because they're not selling a product other than the free open source EOSIO that powers the EOS mainnet and these other chains. So hiring an SEO lead tells me, hey, they're about to launch a product. They need something where they actually need to do search engine optimization and make sure people find whatever this thing is going to be, or maybe multiple things. So many different things. And it's interesting also with the timing of these. We saw that animated B1 June trailer that people got so excited about, ourselves included. Maybe after that, they went, hey, instead of paying this guy, like you're saying, for a one-time thing, we're going to need an animation for this product and this announcement and this launch. Why don't we just hire one? So it's so cool to see, from the outside looking and obviously with very little info from their website, just sort of to imagine what's going on behind the scenes at Block.One. But hiring so many different people, there really are so many that we could spend 5 minutes just reading them all off, dozens and dozens of jobs.
I have some to add actually, because all of the ones we read, none of them were even technical. We only read the fun ones that we understand more, but if you scroll down even further, it's just countless engineers, front end, back end, distributed, But then also security. Have you noticed, Rob, that they've been ramping up their security positions? They hired an executive not too long ago from, I think, Dubai, and he was like head of some major security company. His name is lost on me. But there's about 4 other security positions on in cybersecurity, I guess is the better word, on the Block.One's career page right now. We have these rumors that they're going to be contracting with different world governments. Last week, we saw that there's a group called Ghostbusters that are advising an actual government in near Croatia, and they're going to run their entire government on an EOSIO blockchain and DAC. So this is just insane. Like, everything is happening so fast, and we can't even keep up ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll add on the government side, so it seems like India is actually looking for a platform as well, and or excuse me, not India, Thailand. Our community manager and one of our partners at Cypherglass, Adriana, is actually living in Thailand. She's been there for a couple weeks and is actually going to be there for several months, maybe longer, maybe more than a year, where that'll just be her new spot so that she can go to all the different meetups. But she's been going to a lot of these government meetups focused on blockchain, so that she can kind of push them in the right direction and say, hey, build on EOS instead. You know, don't go build on Ethereum and waste a bunch of development time and pay all these fees and realize it doesn't scale. Come build on EOS or EOSIO and test out your ideas here. So the government space should really be heating up. I know a lot of people aren't super excited about that. Totally understand. There's tons of stuff happening on the mainnet as well for the public chain, but the governance aspect is huge and also shows the power of the technology. So all good news.
Were you talking government or governance or both?
Government. Well, governance in the government.
And I just kind of want to clear this out before we close out, is when we talk about EOSIO and the government, we're not necessarily talking about the main net. It could be any number of EOSIO chains. It could be a public chain. It could be a private chain. It could be a hybrid chain. We don't know. But I'm not expecting a government like the U.S. government to be building on the EOS mainnet. I hope it does. I hope they're posting hashes to it of their block headers maybe. But just so everyone knows, it's not like the government's taking over the EOS mainnet. They're going to be building using EOSIO software, and everything they build could potentially be open sourced and used by other people trying to accomplish the same goals. And it's just going to speed up that process. And eventually, it's just going to be so easy to do. Your mama could do it and run her own country.
Absolutely. I love it. Hey, I would live in my mom's country. Shout out to you, Mom. Anyway, that's a good spot to wrap. Thank you all so much for tuning in for another episode of Everything EOS, the longest running EOS podcast here. As a reminder, if you're going to be in Washington, D.C. for the B1 June event, come one day earlier, 6 p.m., May 31st. RSVP your spot to the Everything EOS mixer over at everythingeos.io/B1 June. We hope to see you there, so please RSVP.
So until next week, everybody, I'm Zack Gall.
I'm Rob Finch.
And this is Everything EOS.
Go EOS!
Go EOS!
Woo! 1 month or less till B1 June. Here we go.